Welcome to the Aceman, everybody. It's time to go behind the funny. This is Scott Higgins.
And this is Ace Aceto.
And thank you for joining us. Thank you for downloading us. Thank you for subscribing. We appreciate it so very much. And if you have a moment, please give us that 5-star written review wherever you download your podcast. It's a great way to help the podcast. If you want to help us out another way, tell a friend. We all learn about podcasts from our friends' recommendations, and that's a way you can help us out by recommending us to a friend.
And the last way, if you really enjoy the show, is to go to our Patreon page and become a patron. And that is at www.patreon.com/behindthefunny. And what that will get you, it's one simple giving level, $5 a month. That will get you a t-shirt or a mug, some sort of merchandise, as well as unlocking bonus content that only our patrons can access.
Thank you so much for supporting us. If you want to reach out, you got a question for us, you got a comment, anything, please send us an email at behindthefunnypod@gmail.com.
And now, enjoy the show.
Be careful. He's
and Scott Higgins, both of them coked up out of their minds.
Listen to you. He's down in the basement.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
I think we should call this the Acement.
The Acement, yes.
Yeah, what do you think there, huh?
I like that. The Acement Studios.
Excuse me, I'm drinking beer. Hold on a second.
We usually drink bourbon on our end.
Yeah,
when we
right.
do the podcast, so
That's all right.
feel free to enjoy yourself.
Yeah, exactly. You shoot an 8-ball if you want. We don't care, as long as it's good stories.
And thank you for joining us on this, our final episode. I'm not hearing myself.
You're not?
Hello.
Oh, I can hear
I
you.
hear you.
Okay, all right,
Yeah,
just checking.
so-
But you are very happy that it's the final one.
The final
I am disappointed, personally.
episode of Scott-tober.
Yeah.
A sudden ease falls over Scott at the end of
Well,
Scott-tober.
don't jump the gun, buddy, because it's the biggest episode, too. So,
But I hope you guys have enjoyed the ones that have led up to now. We've had some incredible guests this year. I mean, the paranormal couple, Cody and Satori, certainly did not disappoint. Again, this year, some absolutely incredible items that they brought in for us. Joe Chin was great, and then thanks to Tom, inviting Andrea
Perrin from
Perrin
the Conjuring House.
That was just absolutely,
Which I got to visit after that episode.
Yeah,
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, no, that was the Cody Satori episode that I went to it.
Yeah, you got to do
But
a visit.
I went to the Conjuring House
Yeah.
for the first time, and that was really cool, and things did happen.
I know you texted us the
Yes.
next day and said,
Yes.
"Oh my God, guys,
I'm
we gotta
actually
go
going to do
there."
an episode about it on my podcast
On yours?
next. Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
On my paranormal story.
So if you guys are really have enjoyed this month and like, the subject of paranormal and you haven't checked it out yet, you got to check out Tom's podcast, My Paranormal Story.
Absolutely.
Amazing stories of real life investigations and things that he's done over many, many years. That he, and some of the stories he's shared over the past few years with us, but he goes into much deeper dives to the stories on there, so check that out. And then of course we have our bourbon date, I always say bourbon date, but one week you surprised me.
I know.
with
Well,
a,
I'm
with
trying
a
to
vodka date.
I'm trying to keep with the paranormal theme, and so if we think back through Scott-tober, we started it off with Heaven's Door,
Yes.
and then we moved to Crystal Head Vodka. That was the
Correct.
different one.
Dan
Then
Aykroyd.
last time, I'd love to get him on. We'll talk UFOs next year.
You got to read his book.
I know. And then last week we did Angel's Envy.
Correct.
And so the best way I could think of to end the month was
What
with
goes with Paine?
Jim Beam Devil's Cut. How do you like that?
Wow, you have done exceptional, my
That's
friend.
a
Jim
coincidence
Beam.
because I have a recording of the devil talking to
Oh,
us
that's
at the Paine
awesome.
house.
Yes.
And guys, don't forget to tune in next week when we will have
Jimmy Cash.
So what do you go back to like Carrot Top and stuff next week, or what do you got? You got to cleanse the palate somehow.
Oh,
Jeff Dunham or something
we're gonna
come
have
in.
Gallagher next week.
gonna be smashing watermelons in the asement. Yeah, why not?
Oh, you got skull glasses. now,
Yeah, these
too.
were the
Look at
crystal
those.
head glasses
Oh,
that
you
came
got glasses
with it.
with the crystal. head.
Perfect
Yeah, it was
for
like
Scottober.
it was like a
That's
gift
pretty cool.
set. So I figured, well, let's drink our bourbon
cheers.
out of it.
Yeah.
So cheers. And listen, I could think of no better way to end Scottober than to have on one of our favorite guests from last year. We had such a great conversation with him. Thanks
Great
again
guy.
to
Yep.
you.
Great guy.
He's the godfather of paranormal.
He's the
in my
godfather of
opinion.
paranormal.
So you come to
And-
my house for this paranormal investigation.
You don't even bring a K2
You don't
meter?
even bring a K2 meter.
Sorry, we
He's
can't help
gonna
ourselves.
by the end, he's going to go into
I keep-
Godfather 2
I
and
keep
3.
lobbing them in there. And
I keep trying to get out. They drag me back in.
No, but this guy was fantastic last year. He was nice enough to have us on an investigation, and so we figured we would have him on, talk a little bit about what he's been up to, and then kind of talk a little bit about our investigation. And we've got some videos to play that you'll be able to, if you're watching live, you'll be able to see. But if not, if you're listening on the podcast platforms, the audio platforms, you'll still be able to hear what we were doing. And then Tom brought some EVPs that he has isolated from that
our
night,
investigation.
which is really interesting because we felt,
yeah, we felt like
other than a little bit of K2 activity, we didn't really hear anything.
And I like how Tom waited till today.
Yes.
To tell me that he found some EVPs.
Yeah. Well, I only just reviewed this like the other day. So.
Yeah, I know. He was
But-
like, "Oh, I guess I should review
But,
it since we're
yeah.
doing this in a couple of
Like
days."
Monday, I was like, oh, I better get on this because reviewing audio takes a while.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
shit.
know.
Yeah.
So listen, we are so honored that this guy is back on, and so we'd like to welcome to the Behind the Funny podcast. And this month we are Behind the Spooky. How do you like that?
Whoa.
That's an idea.
Mr. Ken DeCosta. Ken,
Hey, Ken.
he's back.
Uh-oh.
Look, he's
How you
got
doing, guys?
he's got a skull walking stick with horns.
What skull?
Oh, that's awesome. I love
It's
it.
just probably an attachment I picked up someplace.
See, Tom, I
yeah.
told you.
It happens. It happens.
I
It
told
happens.
you, Tom, and those damn attachments.
Founder of RISEUP Paranormal and the guy who put me on the paranormal map.
Or nap.
Nap, that too.
Hey, don't blame me, okay?
Ken's fault.
So Ken, in a way, Tom is kind of your attachment.
Yeah.
Yeah, right?
He
gonna have
attached
that.
himself to you.
Yeah, I gotta have that lanced.
You need that exorcism cleansing.
Yeah, something like that. But it's great to be with you. Thanks for having me on again. This is awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
We're so glad to have you on.
You're just like Tom now. You're going to become just part of Scottober.
Regular every
Absolutely.
year.
Nice.
So
Nice.
Like you're not busy enough. In
Yeah,
October.
right. I know.
Yeah, no, it's like maybe 3 or 4 things this month rather than Tom will tell you, because this time of year we get hammered with this stuff. But,
Yeah.
I kind of like calmed down a little bit.
Yeah.
It's October and just, a few things and good enough for me.
Well, we appreciate you coming back on. We,
Love it.
we loved the episode last year when we got to talk to you about some of the investigations you were on. You had been on and done, and then we had the opportunity to go 1 mile down the street from me to the infamous Paine house. And what was that? That was in August, right?
August 27th, 2022.
Yeah,
It's still-
8:07 p.m.
He's got
Yep.
it, Scott's got it in his calendar. He's got it tattooed on his ass.
PTSD here.
Yeah, evidently.
That'll never
It'll be
go
on his
away.
tombstone. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
But now, for a couple of years, you guys have been wanting to go on a paranormal investigation.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, all right. One of you wanted
you
to.
use that term, you guys, very
One of
loosely.
you wanted to. The other one was going to be peer pressured into it.
I promised I would do it. So, and I did it.
Yes, and I'm proud of you. You did a great job.
Yes.
No, it was
You weren't-
interesting.
you
It was
weren't
interesting.
scared,
And,
you
and
were
all,
into it.
All fun aside and everything, I found it to be very interesting.
Well, it was nice to be able to do something with some actual paranormal investigators like yourself.
Yeah. No, it was really interesting. I think we had a great group, and it was funny because everyone was different. They were very, very, they were very experienced folks. Other folks from Rise Up Paranormal. There was some new folks. One guy just went around with one of those little mini cameras and just kept taking pictures everywhere. Mm-hmm. I don't know what he did. I don't know who he was talking. I don't know if he even talked to anyone. He just kind of went into rooms and took pictures. I think he was looking for orbs or something.
Probably the orb guy. No, it's great when we have that type of thing and you have people with, different experience levels. I mean, I love having people in that maybe haven't done this before, not that it's like new kid, let's get them or anything like that.
Right.
But like the night Tom came to Conjuring House, I think there was one person out of 16 that had never been there before.
Wow.
And I love that because, people are blank canvases and I don't know what their expectations are. Mm-hmm. But, we say from the beginning, manage your expectations. We don't know. Mm-hmm. But, to tease what you're going to do by the end of this show, everybody out there is listening to this. You got to see what eventually happened that night, because I got to be honest with you, I was very surprised too.
With the last thing that we're going to do,
That was interesting.
And honestly, what was interesting too was, because we started the investigation early, I would love to go back to the Paine house and do like a later night one if they ever do them, because we had, and maybe because it was also summertime, so there were a lot of extraneous noises, cars going by, motorcycles a couple of times.
Yep. Yeah.
So it was hard to get into a real quiet mode. Mm-hmm. But it was interesting. But I walked out of there feeling like, I never once felt an uneasiness. I never felt like I didn't think we really got anything other than a little bit of K2 activity in the barn. For those listening, the Paine house has a the main house, and then there's a barn behind it. And I think you said, Ken, that normally they don't open the barn, right? Or that's new that they started it?
Yeah, typically we don't, because it's even worse with the noise. I don't want to discourage anybody from coming. I guess that after like 10 years there, we're kind of numb to it. We know that there's traffic going by.
Right.
And up until a certain time of night, you just have to deal with that.
Yeah.
But to do like a later night thing, it's like, I've got the keys, so it doesn't matter. We can get in there. But the barn, interestingly enough, you're talking about Cody and Satori. Mm-hmm. For the first time, we went into the barn and brought them in there and had a conversation with somebody who remains in there that's hesitant to come out because he can't get time off from his boss to do that. Oh. He doesn't have time. So he's still, although he's acknowledging and speaking to us, he's still kind of living in a certain past, his reality, where he's still working and, named his boss, who, spot on.
Really?
So, you get all sorts of tidbits and interesting stuff.
I caught a really good EVP from the barn that night that was related to that the fire apparatus that's there. There's like an antique fire hose wagon type of thing in there.
I took some pictures of that stuff. Yeah, it was really cool.
So I'll have to play that for you and see if that voice makes sense to you, because I can almost make out a word too.
Well, why don't we...
Awesome.
Why don't we
do
that?
Want me to play it now?
Yeah, because I think we should just kind of throughout the episode have a conversation, talk about different parts of the night, and then play either an EVP or a video.
Yeah, that sounds good. Let me check and see which file that one was.
Now, just for the audience to know, I have Tom and I. Tom got here a little bit early, so I have heard the EVPs. These turn your thing down.
All right, these things are telling us don't play this fucking episode.
Oh no, I don't give
in.
No,
we're not giving in that
these
easy.
These attachments are telling us.
No.
Stand your ground, guys.
So now,
let me recap. We were gonna play an EVP, which is electronic voice phenomenon. This is when we have a recorder going, and we try to ask questions and see if it will respond, and the recorder will pick it up.
And we did this in every room
Yes.
that we went into
Yep.
for a little
Yep.
while.
Yeah.
And so this
throughout
was
our
out in the
investigation.
stable, and in the stable there's an old fire apparatus, like from the old days, like a horse would pull it.
Horse-drawn one.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
It's a horse-drawn
Yep.
pumper for anybody that knows fire apparatus.
There you go. Yep.
Where once they get there, they actually have to hand pump it to move the water.
Right, yes.
Right.
Very cool antique. And you were very interested in that, and you actually asked a question about it. And this is going to be Scott asking about that fire apparatus, the horse-drawn fire hose thing. All right, and then right about 7 or 8 seconds, you're going to hear a voice. I'm going to play it more than once, but here we go.
Did you tend to the horses for the fire department?
You hear that right there?
I couldn't make out what they said, but I did hear it.
Yep. I'm going to play just the voice.
You hear like an
sounds
S
like a
sound,
word,
right?
Yeah.
right here. I'm gonna amplify it a little bit here just so you can hear it better. So now the robot kind of sound you hear in the background, that's just the computer taking out the noise. It's kind of a filter. But this is the word. Something's saying something here.
Yeah.
I feel like it's saying horse or hose.
Yeah. Sounds like hose.
I'm thinking hose or horse, but
Yeah.
it's definitely right after
Did you
you
tend
asked.
to the horses for the fire department?
Did you tend to the horses for the
Did
fire
you tend to the
department?
horses for the fire department?
And then here it comes. Now here's the robot stuff. Ignore that.
Might have been yes.
Would have been a yes.
Could have been a yes.
What do you think, Ken?
Hard S at the end.
Yeah.
And within the context of the question, the guy who built the place was a blacksmith. Name was Brayton, and the whole business model for the place as a tavern and an inn was based on a horse-drawn carriage or stagecoach, whatever, with carrying passengers from Hartford or from Boston to Hartford. And they would stop in, and because he was a blacksmith by trade, they would stable the horses, feed the horses, shoe the horses. So within the context of the question, it makes sense. If it's hose, horse, whatever the case may be,
Yeah.
pretty subjective, but, I
You
get
definitely-
a hard S at the end.
Yeah, you definitely hear that hard S
It's
at
one
the
of
end,
the
right?
more interesting ones, I thought, though, just because it sounds like it's related to the question, in response to the question. And
Right.
in the area we were in, being the stables, there were no other people around but the three of us.
No,
Right.
and it was pretty quiet in there.
Yeah.
Too, because
Yep.
you're further back from the busy road and everything.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, you notice that it took a few seconds for whatever that response was to come, and Tom did it right, because a lot of times people start asking these rapid fire questions and you don't know how long it takes for a response. So you ask it and you get out of the way for 10 or 15 seconds before you go again. So well done.
Well,
Yeah.
that's one of the things I have to say, Ken, being the first time I've ever been on an investigation like that. It was nice to be with someone like Tom who has experiences, because the first room we went in, he basically conducted 99% of the interview. So we learned that pattern, that cadence, like you said.
Yeah.
So when we went to the next room and he's like, do you guys want to ask some questions? We learned to ask a question, pause.
Yeah, in that same way.
Ask a question, pause. So we just kind of followed his lead throughout the night, because I again, I'm a novice. I have no idea. We've heard you guys in the past conduct yours, and we saw him doing the same thing. So we're just kind of following the lead at that point, which was nice to have, because you're right. I'm in there. I'm nervous. I got a lot of nervous energy. I probably would have said, so did you tend to the horses? What else did you do? Did you actually run the fire pump? Did you go upstairs?
Are these ribbons yours?
Did you ever see Die Hard? That was a great movie.
Yeah.
Did
Do you
guys
think it's a Christmas movie
do you
too?
like pizza?
Turn it into
Did
Chris
you-
Farley.
Yeah, exactly. That's pretty cool.
Going to the store, can I get you anything?
Yeah. Ace's going to Dunkin'. Do you want some donuts?
I've actually used that before. I'm going to the store. Can I get you? Hey, I don't know what the magic question is, but
That's awesome.
I get it when people first start doing it, because, maybe they've seen it on TV or whatever.
Yeah.
But when you're in the moment and you're standing in a room and you're just talking to the air, It feels kind of silly at first. And I said, listen, you're among friends here. You just got to work past that and just have a conversation, do an interview, ask some questions, pretend that it's a physical body sitting across from you.
Yeah.
What would you ask them? So, you got to put yourself in that mind frame. You guys did great.
No, and like I said, I think the past couple of years of listening to some of your interviews and the EVPs you guys have captured, and learning more about this before we go and do that for the first time helped us so that we understood it more. So because I didn't feel silly asking questions because I knew what the result is at the end.
Yep. Everybody's always a little shy when they first do it. But then you get a little more comfortable.
Well, and especially because I think after watching so many shows, after talking to you, after talking to Ken, Jason, Satori and Cody, we've gotten used to understanding that there's also a lot that you may not hear that night. Like I said, we walked out thinking, all right, we got a couple of hits on the K2 and that's it.
You really got to go in thinking you're collecting data and not having an experience. If an experience happens, that's great, but it's rare.
Right.
Most of the time, the stuff you're going to get, if you get anything, is going to be on your review, your video and your audio.
Yeah, you're gonna go, and it's not evidence until it's all reviewed.
Right.
And then it's not all evidence until you pick it all apart and you examine what it could be. And you make sure it's not someone's voice in another room, and you go all through that process. But, it's not evidential until, you actually disseminate it, take it apart and figure out. It's like, okay, I don't have an explanation for it. Yeah. So,
well,
here you go.
Even this, what we're the EVP that we're talking about, we can't say for sure that there's someone saying something. We can only say, I hear a hard S. And to your point, in the context of what Scott is asking about, did you tend to the horses? Yep. Then you hear a hard S and you're in a stable where there's literally, one of the stalls, you could see the horse stall where they fed, the horse and the trough where they ate. It makes sense. Maybe it is. Maybe it's not. But it was a hard S.
There's definitely a sound there with a hard S, so we kind of draw a conclusion from there.
Yeah, without a doubt, though, I feel this was a disembodied voice that wasn't one of us who was there.
No. And like you said, no one else. We were the first ones to go in the barn.
Yeah.
And no one else was in there. No one else was in there before us. And it wasn't until we fully left the barn before anyone came in. So
where you've got to be guarded is that even if you get a response and you're sure of this response, you're sure it's a word, it's human vocal characteristics, and it's nobody in the place. You can't discount it because it's not in context either. You could be asking a question, you get the word spaghetti, and you're like, well, okay, that's random. That has nothing to do with what we're doing. However, you got to remember that you could be tapping into what we call a residual. You could be hearing a conversation that somehow is still in that environment that happened 200 years ago, and they're talking about turnips and squash, which has nothing to do with the question you just asked. So it comes down to words. Right. And just because it doesn't make sense, you don't just toss it.
Yeah, exactly. No. So
while we're on EVPs, you want me to play a few more?
I would feel more comfortable if they said turnips and squash, because at least they would know that I'm not there.
I was going to ask if you wanted to show the K2 session.
Oh, yeah, because that's from
that
the
was
stable.
in the stable.
Yeah, why don't you do that?
So let me pull in that. And now for the sake of the
I was going to
folks-
say, just a quick explanation of the K2 and why you use it.
Yep. Well, the
and
K2
things like
meter
that.
basically it's a rough estimate of the electromagnetic fields that are around you. There's always electronic fields around us, but the theory is that spirits will manipulate that to use for energy. So these meters kind of give you an idea of if energy is going up or down. And so we try to use these devices as in, hey, try to make this light up. Because the theory is if a spirit gets close enough to the box and tries to manifest in some way, it's going to make the lights go up. It's going to make the levels go up.
Because it's sensing a higher electromagnetic energy.
Yeah.
And what I will say, so for the sake of the folks who are just listening and not watching, when we come back from playing this, you're going to hear us asking questions. You're going to hear me. I think I was doing this.
Yep.
You're going to hear me asking questions and talking for a little bit. But then when we come back, I'll tell you what was happening.
Yeah.
But just for the context, because this was because we were, we knew that we were in a stable, and there were electrical lines going in there. So what I purposely did was, with the K2 meter, I walked around and I put it up by the electrical,
we went by an
lines.
alarm panel.
Alarm panel.
Yep.
And so you could see it spike near the alarm panel. And then I walked away from that so that I was going to get a clean, just one solid light showing the baseline.
Intuitively, what you did is what we call a baseline sweep.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Wow, look, I didn't even know what the hell I was doing. And
Intuitively, it's like, let's find what's here. So in the middle of the night, I don't wander over to the corner and I'm like, and I'm getting all crazy over something that's normal, man-made.
And so that's what I did, was a baseline sweep.
Now, before you play this, Ken or Tom, have you guys ever done an investigation where you've had kind of a crazy experience with the K2 meter, where it was really kind of going crazy and you were
Yes.
we've
had dueling K2 meters on a table next to each other.
Really?
And telling the spirits only light up one and not the other.
They did it.
Yeah.
I've seen that before, too.
Which it doesn't make any sense, because if there's some sort of an electronic disturbance in the room, it should make them both light up, not just one.
Yeah, I was just going to say that.
A foot and a half apart. The young lady that we were doing it with, she was holding one. She's actually from Kent, England.
Oh, wow.
And she was at Belcourt Castle in Newport. And as it turned out, I found out later on her name was Tara, and her father's like some billionaire from England. And for her inheritance, he granted her a resort in the Bahamas and said, "This is your inheritance. Go run it." God, I'm trying to find this girl again.
Yeah.
Wow.
She owes us a weekend. And,
She's single?
I was going to say.
Is she single?
I think it merits the idea that I don't put a lot of faith in these things. I don't, because they pick up a lot of stuff. But I will say this. The most recent weird thing was the night you came to the Conjuring house, Tom. Earlier that night, there was one on the kitchen table in the house, and it wasn't mine. It belonged to somebody else. And I started to, greet the person that we most contact. Her name is Abby Arnold. And I said, geez, if you can, Abby, we're here. I don't know if you recognize us, the usual thing. And this thing starts spiking only to my questions. And pretty soon a crowd gathers behind me and more people are coming in. And this went on for 20 minutes. Jeez, so Cody and Satori later on come in, do their thing, directly contact her and said, yeah, that was me that was doing that. And well, not just me, but my husband, William, because he was curious about it. So he started playing with it as well. So it's, so mind-blowing. And I don't put stock in it until something like that happens. That's kind of irrefutable.
Right. So. Well, and that's the thing. Like, I'm not going to say, so for those that are going to be viewing, you're going to see it's not like it lights up to the red. So for those not familiar with a K2 meter, it's like 5 lights, or at least the one we were using was like 5 lights, 2 green, a yellow, or 2 yellows, and then a red. It didn't spike all the way up. But it clearly, before I was asking the questions,
I was just going to say,
was only on one green light.
Right.
And then you see me start asking questions and saying, not instructing, but asking it or telling it, hey, if you come closer to this, you'll light more lights up. Can you do that for me? And you see it pretty consistently hit that second light. So I'm not saying it was, this massive rush of electromagnetic energy, but it was clearly just one light. And then all of a sudden I start asking questions and you see more. So I'm going to play it. You're going to be able to hear the video as well, but I'm going to bring it into the stream. If there's someone here, can you light up more than the 2 lights? If you come closer to that, it'll light up different colors, yellow and red. And we'll see. So you can see it start now a little bit.
That's it. If you touch this, it'll make different lights light up.
Now, this is later in the video, too.
Can you go past that second green one? If you come closer, the next one will be yellow.
Yeah, I'm looking for solid here, and you're almost there. Yeah.
Right there.
I know it takes a lot of energy to do that. Thank you.
Ace was the only one, too, Ken, that was getting that response.
Yep. Okay.
I'm going to take a walk upstairs and see if there's anything up there.
Because we were asked, I asked a few times when we were in that dining room. I think Tom asked a few times.
Throughout the house we tried it.
And we really weren't getting anything. But in the dining room, when Ace asked, then that light would start to flicker and light up more.
And here's the thing about a K2 meter that either a lot of people don't know or don't care. It's called a single axis meter, which means there's only one sensor. It only scans in one direction. And the sensor on a K2 is on the left side of it.
Okay.
So if you're getting that, this is why we like to turn it in different directions. But with the orientation of that meter that I can see, whatever it was closer to you.
To your side.
It looked like it was facing, the left side looked like it was facing where you folks were.
Yep.
So whatever it was between you and that device.
And the meter.
Correct.
Well, and even though it didn't go totally solid on that second light, you see at the very beginning, before I start asking questions, that second light is not lighting up at all.
Right.
It's only the first one. That's why I said I wanted to get some sort of baseline reading. And so, I started the video a little bit later.
Right.
That was sitting there for a little bit, and it was only solid green one light. And that was it.
And Tom walked around the room with it, or I think it was Tom or Ace.
Me.
Walked around.
Ace
Ace did before we started talking to measure the entire room, and there was no there was no measurement in the room at all,
except for that alarm box. That was it.
And then when
There
we
shouldn't be much.
and then when we set it down, we pretty much knew there was not much.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I've looked at that clip a few times. There's a point where you can hear a car go by, so I'm thinking it could be the car, but then the car is long gone and it's still lighting up that second light a little
Now,
bit.
The car was on station.
Now, how would a car affect that from that far away? Because I understand electrical energy from a car because of my profession.
Yep.
So how would that give off? Because most cars are not electrical cars.
It could have been a police car. It could have been somebody using their cell phone in the car. It could have just
a
been
cell phone in the car.
The friction of the car itself.
But from the distance away, I wouldn't think that would set off a K2 meter.
But also keep in mind, we were between the road, because that car was from Station Street, which
and you
was
also have
behind
the
us.
old fire station in front of it too.
Right. So that car that went by was behind us.
Yes.
So we were in between it.
Right.
So to Ken's point,
I eliminated the car only because you hear it go by, but then it's gone.
And then afterwards, you still have...
Which that's what you do at evidence. You just have to try to eliminate everything you can. And
everything
if you
else.
can't, then you have to question it.
Yeah. That's why we use a couple of things. I'll use a tri-field natural meter set to microwave and put it right next to it.
What is
it's
the
called
meter?
A tri-field natural meter.
Okay.
Because the scan goes in 3 different directions: up, down, left, right, forward, and backward. And if you set it to the microwave setting, if it's any kind of radio interference, at the same time the K2 meter goes off, the needle will start to move on it.
Oh, so you
it's
can rule that out.
Yeah, we're getting two-way communications. Maybe it's a police car, maybe it's something like that.
Yeah.
Or a cell phone. So they work in concert with each other.
You always have to try to think of everything and try to eliminate everything.
Well, that's
and that's
even
why
then
you'll
you
notice
still question.
even then, like some of the EVPs that Tom played for me earlier that you're going to hear, there were a couple of things where it's like, all right, I hear something, but there's also some other noise going on. So was that part of that noise, or was that
Well, that's
muffled
what always
by that noise.
amazes me each year as we go deeper into
You
this.
learn
And as I
more, right?
learn, there are so many factors
Yeah.
that you have to take into consideration with all this stuff. So when you do have something where, especially you guys, obviously with experience, where you say, okay, that is something, that's definitely something
Yeah.
because you've ruled out
Everything
so
else.
many things at that point.
We've looked at it from
Yeah,
every
I mean-
angle, and
You know, because like a lot of people see, like you said, you know, we watch a TV show and we see these guys and do stuff, but all the work is after the fact.
Oh yeah.
When you listen to it, you find it, and then you start ruling stuff out, and then you filter this, and then you go through that. And you do this. By the time you've decided that okay, this is evidence, there's so much work that has gone into that one little piece.
Yeah.
Before
Right.
you
Well,
decide
this-
that you think it's evidence.
This is what I mean by using corroborating pieces of equipment, right? Because
Right,
to me,
yeah.
you have to be willing to invalidate what you found.
Right.
You
Right.
got to be willing. And sometimes it's like,
Damn.
it, it tears your chest out because,
Right.
but I think that's the difference in what we do and a lot of other people do because
Yeah.
they won't ask those questions. You know, they just want evidence. Boom, we had a great night.
You're right.
And not take that extra step because there's no shame in saying, that was
Yeah.
a quiet night. We didn't get anything.
it was
you know?
something
Yeah.
else, right?
Oh, yeah.
Well,
I
it's
mean,
interesting.
I must have had 20, 25 different things I heard in this investigation, but I only isolated like 7 or
6.
8.
Yeah,
'cause
right.
I could easily
well,
dismiss the
but
other
I've
ones,
even
you know?
seen. So I'm going to say it to your point, Ken.
This was the drink
That's our
when he says,
drinking game.
"To your
Is
point."
when I say to your point. To your point, Ken.
100%.
I've seen. I've seen Jason and the Ghost Hunters team do something similar to that, where they'll do the flashlight thing, but they'll put a K2 meter next to it. So, you know, talking about corroborating things where, all right, the flashlight lit up, and I know that a lot of people don't really like that whole, you know, the flashlight thing, but if the flashlight is lighting up and the K2 meter is going on, then maybe there's something there, right?
Yeah, you could go like a geophone, which picks up vibrations, right? You know, you put
Right.
it on stairs,
Yeah, so
there's
is the
walking on the
vibration-
floor. So, to me, next to the flashlight, I would put a geophone
Yeah.
to see if somehow an external vibration set it off or something like that. So,
Right.
yeah, exactly what. It's just, you just sit and you just think about it for a minute. Like, what can I use in concert with this thing?
Mm-hmm.
So when you put something out there, listen, they're going to tear it apart anyway. If
Right,
you don't
right.
believe, you don't believe, and that's fine.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't spend 2 minutes of my time anymore trying to prove to science what we do. I could care less because they're just as biased as anyone. But before we put something out there, ask the same questions that normally someone else would ask if they saw it.
Right. You go through a methodical review
why
of
not?
isolating out any extraneous factors, just like science does.
It's checks and
Right.
balances.
right.
It's a pain in the ass, but
you have to do
if
it,
you're
right.
going to put your name on it, especially for something like ghosts and hauntings and stuff,
Right.
it's crazy enough to begin with. So you might as well nail it down. Why not?
Right.
Yeah.
So I thought what was interesting. So that was the stable.
Yep, the
you
stable's
know,
on the
and that
property.
was really the only
The
two
K2
things
meter
that we
in the
did.
stable, that was that one?
That was that one.
Yeah,
that I
that
That
just
wasn't
showed.
the one we did in the dining room.
No,
Nope,
no.
nope,
So,
nope.
so for I've already explained it, but basically, I did a sweep. We had that one light on solid, and then as I started asking questions, the second light flickered, almost became solid, but not quite.
Yep.
But I felt pretty confident that something was trying to,
Yeah.
trying to hit that meter.
Yeah. Well, the
you know?
entire time we were out there, it wasn't going 2 lights. It was just staying on one.
Right,
So,
exactly.
hard to say definitively, but interesting.
But interesting,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
so then when we moved into the house, what struck me, Ken, was I can't believe how much historic stuff is in there that's just kind of laying around.
Yeah.
Like,
They did a
I'm
good
surprised.
job.
Like, there were like rolled up maps that I thought would have been like
Oh, yeah.
preserved under glass or something like that, and they're just rolled up on a shelf. I'm like, I want to unroll them and look at them, but I don't want them to disintegrate.
The
you know?
swords and some of the weapons that are in there. and
swords,
everything.
weapons,
Yeah.
guns.
My favorite things in the Paine house are they have old journals.
Yeah.
That old residents and used to just
Yeah.
it was
You
like a
showed-
diary. They would write every day about what they did.
You showed those
that's
to
what
us,
they
yeah.
didn't have. This is like 1700s.
Yeah.
And that's all they did was write about their day because they didn't have anything else. They didn't have radio or television or anything. That's what they did.
All I'm thinking about
They
is
read and
is
wrote their
Bill,
diaries.
Bill
Bill's joke.
Simon's joke
Oh yeah.
about how they sent dick pics in the 1700s. My dearest Penelope.
They had to
I don't
draw
wanna
them
mess
out
it-
instead.
I don't want to ruin his joke, but that's all I could think about
yeah,
when you
but
said
it's-
diaries. Yeah,
Which,
Yeah, but
my,
that's
which
exactly
my considerable member honor you?
yeah, exactly.
My dearest Penelope.
Penelope.
Yeah.
All right, let's
Take this picture of my enlarged member.
Okay, all right, Scott. Let's get back to the scary stuff. Stop trying to diverge the
Ruining
conversation.
Bill's joke.
No, that
But
was
yeah,
awesome.
one time while I
So-
was there, I just thumbed through a whole bunch of those journals, and it's just saw so and so at the store, or
Yeah.
such and such stopped by the home today, things like that. Like it
I
was just
can't believe
interesting.
she was wearing that dress.
You know what I'd
That-
love to see
that
is
harlot.
that brick building that's next door to it.
Right.
They own that now, and
Yeah.
that used to be kind of like the radio command center for the fire department. Police
Right,
department. They own that now, and this is what happens when you accumulate so much stuff. The only criticism I have is that they've accumulated so much that it's getting a little harder, not impossible, but it's getting a little harder to navigate the place. So eventually, if they can clean out that brick building, that's a perfect place for a museum for this.
Yeah.
Yes.
these
for all of that other
archives.
stuff. Yeah, I have seen them going in and out of the of that place
Yeah.
a lot, and so I don't know if they've been cleaning. They're doing something in there. They did stuff all summer, but I want to get to some of the other
Yes.
EVPs
Yeah.
because Tom has a bunch of them, and then we'll
Yeah.
end the episode with the session at the that we did at the end.
Not to divert while he's getting ready. The sad part is, Ken, is now that you guys have got me thinking about this stuff, is I'll drive by places or I'll talk to people about places and I'm like, oh yeah, there's got to be some entities in there. There's got to be some spirits in that place. Now you should totally check out that place.
You're going down the rabbit hole now.
Yeah,
Sean.
exactly.
That's-
Well, hey, listen, as a result of that night, by the end of the night, we were all talking about when we're going to go and do the Bradley Theater.
And by the way, just as a side thing, Ken and
Yes.
I talked.
Oh, good.
I had the board there asked me to put together a proposal, and I did, and I submitted to them at their next meeting. They're going to bring it up and let us know when we can. Unfortunately, November's a very busy month for them between, ending the Halloween show. We have a comedy show. They get ready for their Christmas show. So November's going to be a tough month. They're going to go over the proposal and let me know what dates
January
and
Whenever's
when we can do
good for them.
something. But we're
Yeah.
going to get something done there. That's gonna be
And if it makes any difference, this is something where if we do get a date, it's between us. We don't have to, put it out to
Broadcast
the
it.
world today.
No,
we're
and
going-
that's what I told him. I said myself and this
Us,
group and some
and
other
maybe
people.
Satori and Cody would be available. That'd be
I just
great.
need a night where I can have some access. I said nothing's going to be disturbed. We just need some time. And
We've done things where we've done presentations at theaters, literally in Connecticut, where
Yep.
for a fee to benefit the place,
Yeah.
we take patrons through.
right, and they did
Jewish
that a
host
couple
store.
of years ago before the pandemic, where for a weekend to raise funds, they did. They had where people could pay a fee and come in and do their own thing, like you did at the Paine House.
But you know what? You know what would be cool is if we did the investigation and then next Scottober we did the podcast
Yeah.
where we played all of the evidence for them and had Ken and Tom that would be fantastic. Wouldn't that be cool?
And then we could charge
Now
it.
you're going.
We
Yeah,
could charge
charge
a
a
ticket
fee.
price, and all the ticket price goes to them.
Goes to them. Yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be great. All right, so
I would be willing to do
This
this.
whole meeting could have been a memo.
I know, right?
Well,
I
we
was just thinking
worked-
that. Somehow we just had a meeting. Yeah.
Yeah, we
How
could
about
just-
we get to the EVPs from
All
the
right,
Paine
Tom,
House?
what do you got?
Workshop this whole.
Yeah, let's work.
right.
Let's spitball
All right,
ideas.
let me do a picture to cut that out.
I don't want to call this an EVP, but I have a strange sound here. I want Ken especially to hear this one because to me, it sounds like something. This was when we were in the room with the bedroom with the rocking chair in it, the famous rocking chair that rocked by itself.
That was the first room we went into.
It was the very first room. This is our very first EVP session of the night.
And I listened to this one on my recording that I did.
Yeah. Okay.
And I marked 2 spots that I thought something was weird, so I'd be interested.
So see if you found the same
yes.
one. All right.
Okay.
So there's a spot on this little recording here, this little clip, where you can kind of hear somebody's sneaker squeaking on the floor right next to the recorder because we were sitting on the floor.
We were crisscross applesauce.
But it also kind of sounds like there might be a voice behind it, too. So let me play it, and Ken, you let me know what you think, because it sounds familiar to me.
We'll be able to play it back, listen later.
Right there. I'm going to play it again.
We'll be able to play it back, listen later.
You catching that, Ken?
Yeah, I think first blush that's like total sneaker.
Mm-hmm. Let me play just that part again.
It's just weird how it's you hear like a lower sneaker sound like
like you definitely hear
but then
the
you hear a
squeaking.
higher
But
thing.
it almost sounds like I hear a little girl's voice at the same time as the squeaking.
or a higher sneaker sound.
Here it is again. See, it just sounds different.
It sounds
from the
different from the sneaker.
Yeah, it's one. It's
tough.
one of those things where you could certainly have something there, but you get into that realm of, well, it could be also.
There's
this.
too much background.
That's why I'm like
with
on the
sneaker
fence with that
stuff.
one.
Yeah.
But
And
because
then
we've had so many young girl, female voices from that house, that's why I wanted to hold on to it.
Sure.
Because I was
you
like,
get conditioned to that. Like I say, I'm not discounting it, but it's kind of one of those things when you listen to it that you just say,
do you have a timestamp on that when that was? Roughly?
It was pretty early on. I don't have the timestamp because I've only got these clips separate
I
from
wonder
the track.
and I'm guessing, Ken, you probably have the ability to do this. There's probably sound software where you can filter that through to see if those are two separate, like, if it's coming from two separate things, right?
I have a sound program. It's called WASP, and it was developed in England. And
of course.
We don't make anything here.
White Anglo-Saxon.
But it's called White Anglo-Saxon Protestant, and it's made in England.
Exactly. The appropriately named WASP program.
Yeah.
Operates those things where, there's a bass line. It'll tell you if whatever the sound is has vocal characteristics.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
exactly. So that's why I'd be curious to know if Tom can run that through that or send it to you to run through there to see
I
if
think it would
that's what
still
does.
be hard to determine.
If that's
but-
one of them you sent me, I already have it, right? Or no?
That might have been one of the ones I sent you, because it was
check.
one of the first ones I heard. And
All right.
I was,
Tom, what else do you have?
excited. All right. From the same room,
Keep it rolling.
Yeah.
the same EVP session, I've got 2 more for you.
Yeah.
This one of us, I think it's me, I'm saying something, and then you wait, and then I amplify it so you can hear what it kind of sounds like someone's trying to say something to us.
Won't be here long, though, just a few hours.
You hear that little
That's the same one I have.
That you found? You heard that one too?
Because I remember
Yep.
you saying
Yep.
that, and
Yep.
then
Yep.
I marked that
Yep.
same
so
spot.
just so everyone knows, again, this stuff here, that robot sounding alien stuff, that's just me enhancing this and trying to remove some of the noise. So the computer just kind of does that, but it helps bring out the EVP more. So this is the EVP here.
And the only reason I marked it is because after your questions, everything had the same sound, but that spot sounded different.
Different,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, and it's just got that classic, almost a whisper, kind of echoey in the room with
I
us
couldn't
type of
I
sound.
couldn't necessarily make it out. I kept turning it up.
Yeah.
I didn't have really good headphones either, but it sounded different.
I don't know. What do you think, Ken?
I would take that and put it in the for review pile.
Yeah.
Because typically I'll get 40 recordings and immediately you dismiss whatever. And then you might end up with, okay, here's 10 I'm going to bother to run through the sound program. So that would go in that stack for review.
Yeah, definitely.
All right.
And then there's one more from that room here.
Whose bedroom was this?
It sounds like the same voice.
Same
talking to us
voice or
again.
same sound.
Sounds like there's
Yeah.
2 words here.
Whose bedroom was this?
Yeah, immediately it sounds like a woman's voice.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So I don't know. That one I would put in the same pile because it definitely sounds like there's some sort of a pattern there, some sort of a voice pattern.
Yeah, I would put that, more to the top of the to-do list.
Yep. So those were all from what I call the rocking chair room, the bedroom that the rocking chair and Doreen was in and all that.
And we were literally sitting right in front of, we were sitting
Which,
in a
by
circle.
the way, you start off the session by saying, this is the room where Rise Up Paranormal got video of the rocking chair rocking by itself, which is right next to
and
Scott.
let's sit right in front of let's sit in front of the rocking chair like someone's reading story time to us.
First room of my first investigation, and they have to point out that's the fucking haunted chair that they got on video.
Listen, that wasn't the first. I think the first
That was
where,
the first room.
Well, wait, because we also you could tell Scott got more calm as the investigation went on because at the beginning of the investigation, he was a bit jumpy. Right? Do you want to play those?
A little bit.
Is that the room where I asked Tom what the hell was going on?
Yeah.
Oh, you want the one with the when he asked about the noise?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. I've
So-
got that here.
So this was
This is my funny bad gig moment from tonight.
All right.
Yeah. So Scott,
This was up in the
here's
attic,
something.
I believe.
I believe it was. Yeah.
All right. Here we go.
Can you shift something? Move something? What was that? I heard something. Was that like a creak? I wasn't sure it was a creak or... It did sound like a growl, but it sounded kind of like a door. I heard something here. If that was you, can you do it again? There it is again. Yeah, it sounds like it's a car outside.
Scott's freaking
I'm
out.
frozen with fear at a car driving by outside.
It was
If
just
I
somebody
ever
getting in
write a
car.
book, if I ever write a book on my experiences in the paranormal, the title would be "What Was That?"
Yes. Did you
What
hear
was that? It was just a car.
I'm sitting there, I am sitting there like, Tom, what was that? And he goes, that's a car
I think it's
outside.
a car. It's a muffler, Scott. We're good.
Except
a
when
Honda
you
with-
get the answer back. How the hell do I know?
Yeah,
Then you're
right.
like, oh crap!
But the whole night
Scott was-
though is
That's a Honda with a coffee can muffler.
I didn't
Yeah,
want
right.
to just keep dismissing things on you guys either. I wanted you guys
Right.
to experience
But
it yourself, come to your own conclusions.
But
and
Scott
stuff,
was a
you
little
know.
hypersensitive
That
at
was
the
early in the
beginning.
night.
Yes,
That
it
was
was. That's
early
why
in
I
the
said,
night.
as the night went
Yeah.
on, you got a
Yeah.
little more calm and a
So-
little more easygoing.
That was like the second room we did or the
Yeah,
first
right.
room we did, and I was so hypersensitive
Yes.
and
Exactly.
aware, waiting for myself to be dragged across the room and thrown out the window or something.
So we ended up going up into the attic, and that's a place that every time I've gone into the attic of the Paine house, it just feels like there's a presence there. Something's heavy going on up there. I've always kind of felt that there's two presences up there. There's a heavy one that's kind of guarding or keeping hostage another one.
Well, and
It's sort of a way.
You were
wasn't
around the corner.
yeah, I was in the other room
Yeah.
doing something.
Yes.
But what was interesting was, isn't that where Amy, was it you guys that had it was you guys that had two female investigators, Rise Up. When I say you guys, I mean Rise Up, that had two female investigators, and you played this EVP before, where as they were walking up the stairs, you hear, they're coming.
Yes, that was the Paine house.
Right.
Yes. That was,
And so
I think
that was the little girl's voice.
That was, Ken will remember better than me, but I think that was a walkthrough that a bunch of us were doing before we even investigated. And Julie had her camcorder going and caught the
that
audio
was-
of
that
a
was in
girl
the-
saying they're coming.
That was in the basement.
Oh, it was in the basement. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
That was
You
in
mean
the
the gift
basement.
shop?
But
The
same
gift
house.
shop?
Yeah, the gift
Yeah,
shop.
the best thing
No, it's
that
a gift
we've
shop.
gotten up in the attic was a couple of girls up there just asking, do you want us to leave? It'd been a long session. You don't want to annoy anybody in the room. And the voice came back, no one needs to leave.
Oh, wow.
One of the best things, and just as clear as I just said it right now.
Really?
Oh.
Yeah.
Because wasn't that
we-
the same place where they were doing ABCs?
No, I don't think that was Paine house, was it?
That would be in
No, it was-
the
that was
fireplace room on the first floor.
Oh,
Yeah. So it was
all right,
the Paine
cool.
house.
It was Paine
yeah.
house. Yeah, I was thinking that was Sprague Mansion for some reason, but they all start to blend together after a
Yeah,
while.
right.
Ken.
So they were in the attic where they said no one needs to leave?
Yeah,
Yes.
there's been all sorts of. The only reason that the attic, we don't emphasize it because something always happens up there. But
Yeah.
in the middle of August, you're going to go up there and it's going to be like 98 degrees.
Yeah, it was hot up there.
So it's just kind of like we encourage people, hey, listen, go up there for 15 minutes so we don't find your skeleton up there at the end of the night.
Yeah, and see, for a while, Tom and Scott were in the bigger room in the attic where they said don't go on the far side because the floor isn't very safe.
Yeah, I guess that's okay now.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
but I was in the room
seemed all right.
off to the side where you had said in the past they had heard the growling voice, the darker energy.
Well,
but I didn't hear any of that when I was in there.
I stayed near somebody, so if I get grabbed, they're coming with me.
Yes, I know.
Good plan.
Well, let me play a couple more EVPs from
Yes,
that attic
please.
that I have here. There's nothing that's going to knock your socks off, but there's some interesting stuff here. Here's the first one.
Well, man of my word, if you make that knocking sound, we're going to leave. But I need to hear it.
Weird voice there.
That was,
And
that
I feel like we would have heard that and I would have pointed it out.
because it was relatively.
And see,
It was
I don't know
relatively
because,
quiet up there.
Yeah, but there were times where we were in one room and there were people in the kitchen and stuff. So I don't know. We probably should have pointed that out, and but I don't know.
Maybe someone said something in the background downstairs and we didn't hear it. But,
Right.
But I
it's an
remember
interesting
that
one.
room being quieter than the other rooms we were in.
Yeah,
Well,
the
we
attic.
We were
yeah.
like 2 floors above everybody at that
Right,
point.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
So here's another
Do
one.
it one more time.
Oh, you want me to do that one? Okay, hold on. I'll just play just the voice clip there.
Yeah, I don't know what they're
weird.
I
saying.
don't know.
I tend to think it's just background noise, but it's just different from what all the other background noise sounds like when I reviewed. all the
Yeah,
songs.
I mean, it's a full sentence, which
Yeah.
is, you know how it is. That's rare.
Yep.
Right,
You get
right.
more than a phrase.
Yep.
It's hard to
So
say.
fun one to listen to, but I'm not sure if that was anything. Here's another one. I can't remember what this one was. Let me just amplify this a little bit because I know it's harder for people to hear listening.
But if you want us to leave, we will go. If you knock right now.
So it's more voices, background maybe.
Yeah, and I don't
Okay.
know. Right after you said, "If you knock, we'll leave," I heard a knock before you amplified
I hear
the
that
sound.
too, but I feel like that's just one of us shifting.
Oh, okay.
Okay, you asked 2 versions of the same question, right?
Yes.
Okay, and asking 2 versions of the same question, you get something right after it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that would be the first thing that came to my mind.
Yep.
Okay.
Like if you'd asked it twice and you got nothing the second time or a different question, but it's 2 versions of the same question. So that would go in the for further review pile
Yep.
in a big way.
So I've got one more where we're asking it to knock for us.
It's not that hard. Just knock, and we'll go.
There's one.
That was definitely a knock.
So we hear the knock there.
And we'll go.
Yeah, you definitely
You
heard
hear a
it.
knock there. Now, I mean,
And then
you know,
especially because you pointed it out.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
Yep. I'm going to turn it up.
Yeah.
So there's definitely a knock there. I mean, I don't know. It's
I don't remember
it's a
hearing
big
that
house,
that
but-
night.
Well, we
Well,
did
he
hear it
said it.
because
We
at
heard
the
it.
end
I
I
remember
pointed
him
out.
saying it, but I don't remember hearing it myself.
Yeah.
This is the only thing that I can put to that is that this is the type of phenomenon we've got there in the past because
Yep.
we have got our knocks in response to asking for them.
Questions.
Not
Yeah.
all the time, but it's not anything unusual. So
Wow.
Yep.
Now, what's the? You have one more, right?
I got one more. This is the one that I wanted everyone to hear for sure, especially Scott,
So
because this is an interesting
listen
one.
carefully to the question and the answer.
Let me find it here. Okay. The EVP part is at the very end. Okay. It should
Do you
be
remember where it
self-explanatory.
was and everything?
This was in the dining room right next to the rocking chair room. So this would have been the second room we went into.
Okay.
And we were all sitting at a table.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yep.
I remember.
Okay. Here we go.
Now, I know you can knock on the table because I've heard it before.
Did you hear that voice at the end?
I did.
You wanna
What
hear
did it
again?
say?
I'm going to play it again.
Listen.
Hold on. I'm going to turn it up. I'm going to amplify it. That's all I'm doing is just amplifying it really loud so you can kind of hear it better. What do you think?
All right. Is there a bang before that voice?
There's a slight bang before it.
Okay.
Yep.
Sounds like the voice, male voice saying knock. Like
Yeah.
in other words,
Say
like
knock.
in other words, this.
I
Knock.
knocked or it's knocked.
Yep.
Yeah.
See,
Something like that.
Here's what I thought
Yeah.
it said when I heard it.
I thought I heard either stop or
Scott.
No way. No.
Listen to
fucking
it again.
way.
listen
I
to
feel
it
like
again.
it says
Maybe it's
Scott.
suggestion,
But yeah.
You done
play
yet?
it one more time.
Yep.
Play
Yep.
it one more
I'm gonna
time.
turn it up.
Amplify.
If that says Scott, I'm never going on another investigation again.
I mean, it's hard to say. It could
Yeah.
say stop. It could say knock. It's definitely any one of those words, but here it is, nice and amplified.
That's a stop. That's a stop.
I mean,
That's a
it's
stop.
more fun being Scott for me. So
It is.
Stop.
It is. But it is definitely. I mean,
there's something there.
that's that's not a background voice. That's not
No,
someone
that's
else.
that-
Because you hear background noise and maybe people talking in the background, maybe downstairs.
No,
but that is clearly something saying something
was
like
communicating.
Scott.
Yep.
Scott is speechless. Do it one more time for Scott.
Yeah.
No.
Amplify.
I'm going to make it his
one
ringtone.
more time. Yeah, we should.
To me, and I'm being honest.
No, it may sound like
Play it one more time, please. That sounds like stop.
it
word
sounds like
stop
either
to me.
stop or Scott.
I
No
mean, I can go with
fucking
stop.
way does it say stop.
I can go with
It
stop.
might.
God,
But
they
it-
already know you on the other side. You.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my word.
we were introducing ourselves when we were in the room.
No,
That's
and
true.
you
You
did
know.
that each room we were in.
yeah,
You
we
did do that
introduced
each
our
room we were
names
in.
and said our names.
We're
to
waiting for you,
So.
Scott.
No, but in all honesty, you know, it sounded like the word stop to me.
Yeah. Now it could.
Yeah.
It sounded
but
like
honestly
P
though,
at the
when I
end, but-
first heard it, when I'm reviewing the audio at home, I'm like, "Get the hell out of here!" Did that just say Scott? And I played it over and over, and it's like,
awesome.
"Oh my god,
No,
this is perfect."
You guys wanted to say Scott.
Oh, we definitely
so
wanted to say
badly
Scott,
right now.
but you know,
I was like, "He's gonna think I faked this or something because it's too perfect." But
I'm actually kind of blown away because it to me, it's so interesting that we go there that night and we went to the different rooms and we did the EVP sessions with you and we have
and
the K2
other
meter.
than the K2 meter, we
And-
felt like nothing.
Yeah.
You know,
No, and I enjoyed the time being there and the discussions.
It was
and
fun.
meeting people, and I would absolutely do it again. I'm not gonna all joking
there's-
aside. I would do it again because it was interesting. But yes. You've explained it before that you don't always hear it when you're there. You go back, you examine all the recordings and the information and stuff. Now that I hear that stuff and I remember sitting there and those actual questions and everything like that, I'm like, all right, we got to try this one more time.
Yeah.
right,
And
right.
see what we get.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
fun.
I mean, if I had $1 for every time I walked away from a place and just said, quiet night, and then you review everything later
Right.
on, and then holy shit, right? So
Yep.
you never walk away from it just thinking it's, not worth my time.
No,
And
it's like you
that's
said,
and
the
that's
work really
process.
the work really starts
Well-
when you're reviewing the evidence.
Well, plus now, Ken, how long have you been doing this?
Oh, God, 47 years or something.
Right. So you know that a lot of times you're going to come away, you're going to review everything you've done, you're probably going to find something. Now, let me ask you this, flip side of that coin. Have you ever had nights where you're doing investigations where something actually happened during the investigation where you're like, holy shit, I can't believe that just happened?
Yeah, a lot. Over the years, there's been
Like,
a lot.
like, tell us a story about one of those moments where you're like, I can't believe that just happened.
Yeah, I mean, there was one at Paine House where I actually saw that little girl.
You don't have to tell us about anything at the Paine.
Yeah,
We could skip
sitting in
those.
the sitting in the
Ken saw an
kitchen. I
apparition.
see her float across a hallway.
Wow.
And
Like
to
a
back that
residual?
up, we had a camera pointing in that direction. The weirdest part about it, as we lined up the timestamp, you see like a pulsing energy go across the hall.
Go across?
On the camera?
Yep.
Yes. I saw a little girl. The camera saw a pulsing
Some sort
light
of pulsating light.
Yep.
inside, which was weird because when I looked it up, I found that there have been other instances where somebody caught something similar on video. So I'm like, yeah, okay, fine. But there's been a lot of stuff at Paine House just to hear a voice out loud, and I'm just dropping F-bombs because I can't believe it. But one of the other ones was going into an historic place and just being in a room by myself in total pitch dark. And I'm looking and I see this thing about 8 feet tall, just darker than the darkness of the room.
Mm-hmm.
As I'm inside that thing, and like I'm reaching behind me trying to find the doorknob, because I'm hedging my bets there. It's just kind of like, all right, I'm going to observe this, but if like this thing like moves an inch toward me, I may have to like beat feet out of here.
Right.
So
In other words, you're in a dark room, but there's something that you can see that's even darker than the darkness.
yeah, if there was a figure in there, like a human being, they would appear to be a little bit darker. And I mean, there's been so many with voices that just come out of the darkness at you. I've had a vacuum cleaner thrown at me one time.
Oh, I was going to talk about that one.
Yeah,
I think Tom's told that story
Have I?
before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that
the vacuum cleaner being knocked over
Where
while
was that?
This was at. Can we say the name of the place?
Yeah, it doesn't exist there anymore.
Okay. It was called Nature's. It was kind of a store where you can go and buy like different stones and gems and lots of like earthy.
Oh, yeah.
Stuff like that and
Crystals and shit like that. Yeah.
Yep. And we were investigating there. We did a few investigations there. In the basement, on one investigation, Ken had a vacuum cleaner slammed into him. It was just up against the wall, and like we had it on camera where this board against the wall pushed into the vacuum cleaner, and then the vacuum cleaner hit Ken. So on the next investigation, we set that vacuum cleaner up in the middle of the room, and we put 2 different cameras pointing on it, and we just gathered around and we just dared it.
We locked it.
You
in
provoked?
The upright
Yep,
position.
it was locked in upright position, and we didn't
shook it
provoke,
around.
but we said, knock it over. If you can knock this thing over, knock it over. And sure enough, this thing got knocked over pretty violently.
Wow.
Right in front of all our eyes and on 2 different cameras.
I still have the video of that.
Yeah, it's freaky. And when you slow down the video,
that'd be
you know how
awesome.
a vacuum cleaner is sitting on like 4 wheels
Right,
and it's upright?
right.
You can kind of see it. It got pushed from the back, so you can kind of see the back wheels go up in the air, and then the whole thing flips backwards. And
we had a psychic in there at the time who, like, all she's doing is, oh my god, oh my god. Oh
yeah.
my god.
I was.
You should have seen that coming.
This was like maybe I know, right?
That's the best line of the night. You should have
Next
seen
time,
that.
warn us.
How did you not know? That was like only my 2nd or 3rd investigation with Rise Up.
You're the psychic. You should have seen that coming.
That was amazing.
You should have told us about that yesterday.
And then when we go off the air, I'll think of 10 more. But
Yeah, right.
I've had my moments in this where I've seen some, life-changing stuff. I mean, none of us have ever been like scared and ran out of a house or something. But
Right.
boy, oh boy.
Because obviously Hollywood takes these stories and look at The Conjuring.
Yeah, look at what Andrea said.
You know-
Half the shit that was in The Conjuring didn't actually happen, but there was scary enough stuff that happened to her.
They take, they read a story in a newspaper about something and they Hollywood the shit out of it.
Right.
To make it, what they think is what people want to see. Right. And, so I always wonder about stuff like that when I talk to people that have gone on real investigations. Right. Were there any real moments that made you scared?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. There are some that, there's being startled, and then there's like, I might have to like get the hell out of here.
Really?
But there's been a lot like that where we sit and listen to footsteps walking on an empty floor overhead at, an apartment building in Providence. There are all sorts of things. They're literally seeing apparitions, literally seeing like shadowy figures running away from you, like, like Sleepy Hollow or something like that. They're few and far between, but every once in a while. Yeah, just be careful what you wish for. I mean, that's what you're there. That's what you signed up for. And it happens less or more rare than people want to hope that it does. But when it does, you never can really get lulled into a false sense of security, especially if you're at a place that you've never been to. I don't think anything at Paine House is ever going to hurt anybody.
Nothing's. Well, it's funny you bring up the whole footsteps in an apartment house in Providence, because 3 weeks ago we had Joe Chin on. And he said his first paranormal experience was they were in their 3-tenement house in Providence, and all the kids were downstairs and no one was upstairs because the adults were at work. And they clearly heard footsteps upstairs in the apartment above them, and you're right. That happens probably more often than not.
Yeah. I mean, seeing a figure is like the
Holy Grail.
That's the Ark of the Covenant right there. And it's probably happened to me 3 times since I've been doing this.
In almost 50 years. Right.
Yep. But I'm going to tell you what, you never forget it. I don't care how many years go by. I mean, the name, the date, the time, the place, it stays with you. So that's why a lot of times when people go, oh, I saw an apparition, and everybody's high-fiving, and it's just kind of like, I don't know if you really saw one or not, because when you do, literally, for real, it can really unnerve you.
Yeah, you're not high-fiving. You're kind of going, what the fuck did I just see?
That's it.
Right?
When it happened at Paine House, my son was there. I'm not sure if Tom was there, but Joe Chin was there. A bunch of people were there. And everybody what? 1,000 questions. And it was like, I went for a walk outside. We'll talk about it in a second. So my kid went out with me, kind of walking Dad around the yard, because, it's an unnerving thing.
Right.
When you ask yourself, why me? It's like, hey, why not me?
Why not? I'm there. Right.
Right.
And I can live my life without that experience.
Yeah, well, we may have that at the the next few investigations. So listen, Ken, to wrap, well, let's see. We'd love to do the Paine House again.
Going to the theater.
We're going to the theater, and you agreed to go to the Conjuring House. So anyway,
you're going to spend the night at the Conjuring.
Yeah, you're going to spend the night.
Andrea's bedroom, right?
Andrea's,
Never said I would do that.
We make that happen.
We're gonna play the clapping game.
Nope.
Yeah, we can do that.
No. So listen. So let's wind down the episode.
Yes.
You have no more EVPs, right?
No, those were the best ones.
Those were the best ones.
Wait,
I love
hold
this.
on.
Scott. Yeah.
It says Scott.
It's either Stop or Scott, but
I might have to make that my ringtone.
It's definitely a voice. I mean, that would be one to run through the voice program, right?
Definitely.
That's
definitely.
Wow. So let's talk about how we ended the session.
I have actual goosebumps, by the way.
Good. I was hoping. Wouldn't be Scott-tober.
Let's talk about the way we ended the night, because you said, hey, why don't we do this thing called the Estes method, or the Estes session,
which obviously we never heard of.
Let's talk about. So Mike, I don't know Mike Sullo, but he said definitely says Scott, especially given the context of who's there. Thank you, Mike.
All right, Mike. Mike confirms.
One of our watchers is confirming it said Scott. No. But at the end of the night, you said, let's try this. Do you guys want to try an Estes session? And we were like, what's that? So for our audience, explain what that entails. And then I actually have a video with the audio, so you'll be able to hear what we were doing, because we did 2 of them. Right. So first, describe what it is.
Okay, so what it is everybody's probably heard of a spirit box or a shack hack radio. where you're scanning through AM or FM frequencies every 0.2 of a second. And theoretically, the white noise that's produced enables a spirit to be able to speak through that. And the white noise thing has been around forever. Goes back to the 1800s, 1900s. So what the Estes method is basically you tap into that device with a pair of headphones, and they go on the subject, just like mine are right now. But we use noise canceling headphones, so the only thing that person hears is what's coming through the headphones. They can't hear anything else in the room. And what we'll do is blindfold that subject as well to eliminate sight. So it's almost like a sensory deprivation thing where you can't see. And the other thing is you can't read lips either, but all your senses are focused on your hearing. So the rest of the people in the room will ask questions as you would an EVP session. And whoever has the headphones and the blindfold on will say out loud what they believe is coming through in terms of words or a series of words, whatever that may be. So they don't know the questions we're asking. And at the end of the day, what you want to see if their responses somehow corroborate with the questions that they can't hear.
Yeah.
And I've been both ways. I'm not a real proponent about it, but the last couple of times we can use it, and one of them was with Scott, I have to honestly say that it was really compelling. And I have to give it to you. And, you're going to play the clip so everybody can judge themselves.
Now, from my point of view,
you have no idea what's being asked in the room.
I was just going to say,
right.
to give my point of view, I have the headphones on, I'm blindfolded. I literally can hear nothing, but I hear static. And every once in a while, it literally, in my ears, what it sounded like is radios that are on scan.
Yeah, it's like if you've ever watched Transformers when Bumblebee talks.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. That is the best description. That is the best.
Because it's scanning through all these radio stations.
And it sounds like AM radio. It's not FM radio because it's not like stereo. It's like AM radio, and it's on scan. And every once in a while it stops, and you'll pick up words. And the words I hear are pretty clear for the most part. So whatever I heard, I would say. And once in a while, there was a couple times the words I wasn't too sure of.
But you said it. I hear an inaudible word.
But if I heard it, I would say it. There was a couple times I believe I said inaudible because I couldn't make out what they said. But the rest of the time, if I could, I would say whatever the word was, and I would repeat it. But I couldn't hear anything in the room. I didn't know if someone just asked a question or not. I only repeated what was in my ear.
Especially because, again, for the audience, he was blindfolded. He couldn't see people asking questions. He couldn't hear people asking questions.
No, I could not tell.
All he was doing was repeating the words he heard through the voice box.
When I heard it, I said it.
And I will say, I have always thought the whole spirit box, voice box thing is absolute bullshit. When people are sitting there and they're sitting in the middle of a room and they're, putting together these stories through the spirit box. But I've never seen anyone do the sensory deprivation. The sensory deprivation where they can't hear or see the questions. But then they're just, all Scott was doing was repeating whatever words were coming out. And Ken had said it. What is the normal percentage of coherent answers to questions?
Oh, if you get 2 out of 10, you go like, okay, that was interesting. In this particular session, Scott was around 60%.
Right.
Where I'm saying in the context of the question, the response could definitely be taken as yes.
Right.
And that's the other thing too, is I don't have any real context with this because I'm not a person that is involved in watching shows with this.
Yeah.
Right.
The best part is you were the literal blank canvas.
Exactly. I'm like
all he was doing was
placebo. I am the check to the balances with this because I have no context with this whatsoever.
All you were doing was repeating the words that were said through that box.
Because the first couple times they asked me, I said, "No way, I'm not doing this."
Yeah.
I'm not.
Right, so what that eliminates is a subject who knows what's going on, and they just start saying things they want to hear. A demon, murder.
No, exactly. Because I'd never seen it before. I'd never been involved before.
No.
So I don't know what you're asking.
And Scott's not the type that's gonna want to say demon or whatever, or
Kill me.
And to that point, we did do an SD session right before Scott with one of the other participants that night. Right.
Yeah.
And that.
You had
And I mean, that wasn't bad. I don't know. I honestly, I didn't record it, so I don't remember what happened. But I don't think he was saying shit that like.
Well, there was one time where there were common words that were said between him, and then in Scott's session, he repeated those same words
to corroborate it. Right.
I don't remember that specifically.
So, well, because you don't remember the words. All you remember is you just said stuff.
Yeah.
So,
but I scripted out both of the sessions.
Oh, did you?
I did, and so there was some similarities in the questions and intelligent responses between both sessions, which is what made me think that there was something there.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't, this is all random.
Exactly.
And to me, the Estes method, it's very random no matter how you're doing it. And a lot of times you ask a question that could have any number of intelligent answers.
Right.
So the fact that you blurted out a word that is one word of 1,000 that would be appropriate for the question that was asked
60% of the time that night.
But 60% of the time, plus it was a lot of the same theme from what the first session was. So that was like the odds were a little bit weird on that for me.
All right.
So here is the SD session. It's probably about 9 minutes long, but honestly, this was the most interesting part of the night for me. So I'm going to play the entire video. For those that are just listening, you're going to be able to hear the questions we were asking in the room. And I think in the beginning, to the point that Ken was saying earlier tonight, like we were kind of rapid firing questions, but as we got more used to it, we kind of backed off and just asked the question.
There were a lot of people in the room.
Yeah, there were a good 8, 10 people in the room.
Way too many.
So here is the SD session. I'm glad that we got to talk about what it is. I'm going to try and skip to the point where we start. But again, because we lost video earlier, I got to reload this. So
that's okay. Well, this is probably the first time I've seen Nesty's method that I thought was interesting.
All right, so let's see. Scott's going to go pee because he just whispered it in my ear.
No, that wasn't Scott.
No, oh, shit. All right. Scott. All right. So here it is.
EVPP.
So EVPP. So here is Scott, and again, there's like 8 or 9 or 10 of us sitting around.
Asking
Scott's
questions.
sitting at a table, literally with a blindfold. For those that can't see it, a blindfold and noise canceling headphones.
Yep.
And we're just asking him questions. So here it is. This is something called the Estes method.
All right. This is a gentleman named Scott now who's going to try to listen to you. Could you say hello to Scott, please?
Who was with you?
Are you still with us?
Yes. Now.
I'm wondering if you could go and get Sarah for me, please.
Are you speaking for everyone here?
Yes.
Can you tell me where you are in the room?
Later.
Is Sarah still here with us?
What is important?
Because he told you off.
Are you male?
Yes.
Are you female?
Can you tell me your name?
It was just something inaudible.
Do you need help?
More.
I'm gonna ask you again, can you tell me your name?
What kind of help do you need?
Shoving.
What is your favorite animal? Is someone being shoved?
Hard to say.
Where is this happening?
Any of them. That was loud.
Are the girls still here?
Can you get the girls' words?
No more.
Is there anything that we can get you? Is there anything we can bring you?
Too much effort.
Is it daytime or nighttime?
Stay away.
From who?
Four.
The house that we're in right now, do you live here? Is this your home?
Way too many.
Way too many people here?
Still coming.
How many people are in this room?
Church.
Are you a traveler?
A long time.
Do you come here to visit this place?
The park.
Where is the park?
A rat.
Are there rats in the house?
Yes. Wow.
A rat as in a mouse, or a rat is a bad person?
2 weeks.
How many rats?
5. Down.
Where are they?
Still down.
Are they in the basement? Are the rats in the basement?
What color are the rats?
Bye.
Are you blue?
course.
Where are you going?
Are they big rats or small rats?
Too much.
Should we stop now? Would you like to go? You can end this.
Maybe.
Do you like visiting with us?
Sort of. Mostly. Yes.
Do you like the females in the room?
Think.
Do you have a message for us?
There's nothing.
So that was something called the Estes method, where Scott couldn't see anything and you just heard things in the headphones.
All right, hold on.
So, oops.
I just realized I was wearing the same shirt that night.
Well, you know what, Ken? When you have a classic, you just stick with it.
That's it, man.
Right.
That's what it is.
So, I mean, obviously there's a lot of random stuff that goes on with that. But what was interesting to me was it asked, like, there were certain questions that either it was an unbelievable coincidence or it was truly intelligent. Because when it said rats, how many rats? And Scott answered 5. Are you I think it was are you okay with answering questions? Yes, mostly. Like there were definitely, so like you had said, normally like 20% of the questions and answers make sense, and it was about 60% where it did make sense. He had no idea what we were asking him because of the noise canceling headphones. He was merely a conduit to answering what he heard.
And what was weird when I watch it back is there were certain questions where the answer was almost immediate.
Right.
There was a
and
few
others
times
it was a delay.
And a few others where there was a delay, but the ones where it was almost an immediate answer was like, holy shit.
Well, and they said, where are the rats? Below.
Yes.
And then they were like, down in the basement? Yes, mostly. Like certain things that were said just were, I mean, either that is an unbelievable fucking coincidence or it's
here's what makes me think something's here, because the guy Chris who did the same thing right before
me,
yes,
he also was saying the word rat.
Really?
Yes, during his session.
Yeah, I don't remember his session.
Yeah, if you look during when you said the word rats, Melissa from our group, who was sitting behind you to your left, like immediately perked up and pointed to the other guy.
To the other guy that
said rat.
Heard the same thing.
Towards the end of his session, he started talking about rats. And then during your session, rats came up again.
Right.
Which to me, that's a little too,
coincidental.
Yeah, too much
like,
coincidence
how many
there.
times does the same word come
rat on a radio station?
On a radio
or something,
station,
right,
exactly.
you know?
Yeah. If it's just randomly scanning radio signals, how often is rat going to come up? It's not like it says Van Halen.
Right.
You know?
Well, Rat is a
Fleetwood
band.
Mac.
So.
Well, true. That's true.
Depends if you're on the 80s hairband station.
On that.
True.
That's true.
When I was listening to it again, I mean, it really took me back. And a lot of times when you, on a second list, it's the first time I'd seen it.
Yeah.
To be honest with you.
Oh, really?
And a lot of times when you go back on these things, you're like, it wasn't as exciting or
As I thought.
as
Yeah.
it was in the moment. But that's not the case. There were 6 yes or no questions asked. And he said yes to every one of them. Not once did he say spare tire or
Right.
whirl. There were
Yep.
6 yes or no questions. To 4 of those, he answered yes. Now, the rat thing, he repeated something. Are there rats? Yes. How many rats? Now, listen.
5.
You can, anything, a gazillion words can come out at that point.
Right. Why
we
5?
asked for a number, and Scott says 5.
Right.
They're down, and then he repeats 5 again.
Yep.
You know, so in a second listen to that, it's, you know,
It's even more compelling.
say what you want about the method, and you'd be right, because there's audio pareidolia too, where you
Right.
hear a certain. So this is why the first guy who did it is a little bit of a paranormal enthusiast. So I'm
I
kind
see.
of like, but like I say, Scott in that position was just a blank canvas. I'm not sure he knew what the hell we were doing, really.
No,
Yeah.
I had never seen or heard that before.
Quite frankly, I was surprised he volunteered to do it, because I was ready to volunteer to do it. But when he said, I'll do it, I was like, holy shit. Well, he's really getting into this.
Well, because, you know, at first I was like, no way, no way, no way. And everyone kept going, come on, come on. And then finally in my mind, I was like, you know what? If I do it exactly that, I am like kind of the placebo. I'm the person that
Right.
there's no preconceived notions. There's nothing else. So let's try it.
Yep.
You know, I'm not going to get hurt doing
Without
this.
a doubt, I know you were just repeating the words you heard as you heard.
Yeah, you
know,
weren't making
so-
shit up, because you're fucking
And-
scared of this
And
stuff.
but I was also a little bit like, yeah, this might be kind of bullshit.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
Yep.
in my
But
mind.
what did
that-
it feel like
On
watching it back, hearing you answer questions?
But I remember that night, and when you tapped me, Ken, and I took the headphones off and I took the blindfold off, I was a little like, almost like I had forgotten where I was in the moment, because
you get lost.
You were just focused on
because
repeating
I was
the words.
so focused on hearing these words in my
Yeah.
mind that I got that tap and I took that off and I was like, oh, that's right. This is where I am.
Well, you know
And now,
what? I mean,
now I watch it back and I was like, oh my God, I can't, you know, I it takes me back
was
to
making
being
sense.
that. Yeah. And
Yeah.
It makes
Well,
a
this is
little more
why
sense now.
I like to pull people out of it sometimes. Not that you're in a trance, but white noise pumping in there for
Oh, no.
10 minutes can
yes.
mess with you. So I'm like, you know,
Yeah,
okay, I know
exactly.
we're onto something here, but it's time to tap Scott and let's tap out of this.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
like
No,
Well, it's like you said, it's sensory deprivation. So, yeah.
yeah.
It messes with your head a little bit. Yeah, exactly right. And I remember that moment when you tapped me. It was like it kind of it shook me out of the being in a little bit of a daze that I forgot where I was.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd like to see the experiment done in a more controlled environment where there's not as many people asking
Right.
questions that aren't related to each other, and have a little more focus. You know, one person in the room is asking about what day it is. Another one is asking, you know,
What's your
did you
favorite
live
animal?
here?
Yeah, right.
And, you know, I feel like it's overwhelming. You know, but that was just our situation at the time. You know, we had to make sure everybody was involved.
But you have to remember this too. Now, this is scanning through at 0.2 of a second, right? That's pretty damn quick. So,
Right.
when you're saying things like yes, okay, you can get that. But when you're saying things like hard to say,
Right.
3 syllables in
Yep.
0.2 of a second, it's like one station said hard, the next said to, and the next said say. I mean, not impossible, but you know what I
And
mean? That's
Very rare.
And that was the thing, is I was trying to be very, very focused and not miss any words.
Right.
So I just sat there the whole time thinking, just say any word you hear and don't miss anything.
Right.
And that's why I didn't know if any questions were asked. I didn't know what was going on.
You were
and I just
merely
said
repeating
any
what you
word
heard.
I heard into my ears.
Yeah. which is the way it should be, right? And that's why I say I've always thought the whole spirit box thing was bullshit, but it's interesting when you have someone totally deprived of their senses just repeating the words as other people are asking questions. And I think it would be, I'd be very interested to be at a session where only one person is asking the questions.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
where
the
everyone
other
else
thing-
is quiet
That's how
and
it
one
should be done,
person's
yeah.
asking
The
the
other-
questions.
Yeah, the other thing we've done as a variation of this is we put a splitter on the headphones where two people are listening to this and they write down their answers. So in other words, if they think they hear a word, they raise their hand and just write it down. Don't say what it is. Just to give that extra security so the other person doesn't
Take that
hear it.
power of suggestion out of
And
it.
then compare the two to see how many common words you're in. And that's sort of, I'll be honest. I mean, that's sort of a bullshit test. So we do that to say, is this worth pursuing or not? So we've done it with mixed results.
Yeah, because even then, one person hears something, the other person might have missed it. Because it's so fast.
Exactly right. So the idea is, in this particular case, I would say, for the most part, we get a lot of gibberish. This is probably one of 2 sessions that I've conducted with this that I can honestly walk away from and say there may be something to this after all.
And I remember you saying it that night. You were like, wow.
Yeah, no.
That
seriously.
never happens. It's never that controlled. It's never that in sync with the questions that we're asking.
And I'll be honest. I only said things that I honestly heard the word.
Because if you didn't, you said something inaudible.
Yeah.
He was clear about that.
I didn't try to interpret it. I didn't try to put it together. If I heard it, I said it. If I didn't hear it, I said inaudible.
Yep.
Or I didn't say anything at all a couple of times. When I thought I might have heard something, I said, no, that
I got the
didn't
real
say
impression
anything.
that something was trying to communicate a message to us that had to do with rats.
And I
really
almost
felt
wonder, because there were multiple times, even though it wasn't a direct answer to a question, there were multiple times he either said too many or something to that effect. Right. And I almost wonder if that was whatever it was in the room saying there's too many people asking questions. Too many. Hard to say.
Yeah.
They said it multiple times.
It was
or
being
the amount
bombarded
of
by
the amount of spirits that were there because whoever it was also
Maybe.
said more coming.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But I actually thought we were going to have to get up and go look and see if there was some rats in the basement, just by the way this thing was communicating.
Well, the other session...
I did see one dead rat in the attic. I did. No, I'm not lying. Yeah. I saw a dead rat in the attic.
Yeah. The other thing that happened there was probably other things with the first subject, the kid that we had do it. There was one point that somebody asked him, "What's your favorite color?" And his response was gold.
Yep. I remember that. Yes.
Now, here's the thing. If there's a lot red, blue, green, orange, there's a lot of things you could say. But to say gold is kind of weird because it's a color, but it's kind of out of the norm. Like if he actually said green, I would have been like, wow. But this was something a little above and beyond. It wasn't the typical, because at that point are you sure you can't hear us?
Right. The only time gold is a color is in the 64 box of Crayola crayons.
Pretty much.
Right? You didn't get gold in any other one. I thought that would have gotten a laugh. Never mind. No. Scott's getting tired. Okay. Normally
I'm
he
not
laughs
tired.
at that
wasn't
stuff.
that funny.
That was pretty funny. 64 bucks with the pencil sharpener in the back.
Oh, yeah.
No, wasn't that funny.
Come on. All right.
Wasn't that funny.
Fuck you.
You tried too hard on that one.
Should Scott go fuck himself? Yes.
All right. Don't play the Scott again.
Yeah, play Scott again.
Don't play the
One
Scott
more time.
Again. I'll tell you, Ken, if nothing else, that night was very interesting.
It was awesome.
It was very eye-opening.
We really had a great time. I love doing... I've always wanted to do a paranormal investigation.
Right.
and I never got a chance to,
Right.
and I loved it. I had such a great time. It was so fun.
We
And
got
I
to
think
meet Joe Chin.
We got to meet Joe Chin, who we had on. But I love the fact that as I was doing the investigation, I realized I picked up so much from people like you, from people like Jason, so from people like Tom, from people like Joe Chin. Just watching the show, Steve Gonsalves, is one of the calmest voices in paranormal. I found myself mimicking people who I look up to in the paranormal investigative world because I feel that you guys do it the right way. I don't agree with the come at me bro attitude, and guys know I've talked about it before.
That's frat boy stuff.
Exactly.
That's bullshit.
I don't
Bullshit.
think that's a good way to attract people, and I've said it on past shows because you said it last year. Think about it. You are going into someone's house. If that spirit or that energy is still there, that was their home.
Yeah.
If someone walked in your house and started yelling, "Come on, bro, move a brick, throw this, do this," you're going to be like, "Go fuck yourself."
Pretty much.
I felt like I was kind of proud of myself and Scott when we went in and we started. I was like, "Wow, I sound like the paranormal investigators that I look up to," because I wasn't yelling. I was very calm. I remember Tom, when he talked about you the very first year that he was on, before we even had you on, and he talked about was a Slater Mill when
I was going to
Ken
say
said, "Thank you, merci beaucoup."
That's the one that influenced me the most.
That wasn't
because
Slater Mill,
you
but it
were
was the
so
mill.
The one in
where was it?
Woonsocket.
That was the Woonsocket
Oh,
Mill.
Woonsocket
Mill.
When you said merci beaucoup and they
Yes.
said merci beaucoup, because I remember thinking, wow, if you're polite to them, they're polite back.
That was,
and that's what made me.
That
that's
influenced me more
Yeah.
than any other thing that I've heard
Right?
since we started doing this was when you did that, Ken, and they
Same.
answered you back in the French accent.
Same thing.
Merci beaucoup.
Yep.
Was that if you treat them with respect,
They will treat you with respect back.
and
Yep.
I tried to approach that night that same way, and I followed Tom's lead that whole night.
Yep.
And I didn't have that big scary moment like you expect to see
No.
with Hollywood or anything like that.
Now
And-
listen, if a brick came flying across the room, I'd be running on top of Scott to get out of the fucking
there you
house.
go.
I'm not going to lie.
Scott told her over.
Whoever,
Yeah, exactly.
whoever, all you got to do is be faster than Scott. You're all
Yeah, exactly.
Which wouldn't take much.
Well, no, exactly.
You know,
Which wouldn't take
listen,
much.
I'll tell you what, too, and I appreciate all of that. It's like when you do these things, you got to figure out who you are, right? As a
You
person.
find
Instead
your
of being
voice, just like being a comic.
Yeah.
You find your
instead
voice.
of being a fucking performance artist in this, you got to figure out who you are. And
Right.
where I appreciate you guys is that you're very much in the same mindset as me, because to me, humor is in my toolbox right next to the meter and the K2 and the camera and all of that stuff, because I've always been like a dry sense of humor, one-liner guy. That was who I was growing up.
Yep.
And I still do that, not to downplay what we're doing because we take it seriously.
Right.
But this is why I would rather watch spoofs of paranormal shows or straight out comedy ghost hunts than I would watch at this point the real thing, because we get enough of the real thing. I
Right.
love the idea that we can laugh at ourselves and we don't take ourselves seriously.
Yeah.
But at the same point that we can balance out, okay, we're here to do something, and this might be a serious situation in someone's home. But, there are a lot of times I'll walk into somebody's house. I'm sitting at the table having a cup of coffee, and I'm making them chuckle. And I think that's valuable to be able to do that.
To put them at
Absolutely right.
ease when
I've
they're
probably
afraid.
said this before on this show. If you're the calmest person in the room, the people that are affected are going to go, well, this guy's not freaking out, so
Right.
maybe
They're going to
everything-
mimic that behavior.
Maybe
You know what?
everything's going to be okay,
Right.
You know what that is, Ken? Humor and humility.
Right.
Yep.
There's a fine line between the two. You can have humor and humility.
Yeah, I'm not curing cancer here.
No, but you are. You're still helping people when you go into a place where people are afraid, and you help them understand what's going on and help them live with the situation that they're in. Sometimes that takes humility, and that requires humor to be able to have humility.
Yeah. Yeah, and like I say, it's always been who I am. And I've had people say, wow, you're really funny. It's like, well, what did you expect? Well, I expected this big, serious guy.
Yeah, that's what they expect,
No, that's somebody else, man. That's somebody who's just
you can't take it too seriously.
So obsessed with this stuff, and there's a danger to that, But you got to be your best version of yourself. And if you're a funny person, fine, as long as it's well timed, you're not insulting anybody or offending anybody.
Exactly.
I think it helps the energy of the
and
room,
when it's
too.
time to get serious, we're trying to bear down, we're doing this method or whatever, fine. For those 15 minutes, you turn it off and let's do our thing. After that, let's go outside, have a few laughs.
And have fun. Exactly.
Yes.
Well,
why not?
Ken, we love having you on.
And we
year.
did. We had a great time that night.
We enjoy having you on. We love having your stories. I appreciate the way that you approach this stuff, the way that you've kind of taken us in and helping us understand the stuff.
Well, let's
better.
go back.
I definitely want to.
Well, next is going to be the Bradley, right?
You talked about the rabbit hole. I am all in. I've started watching stuff online. I've started looking at stuff.
Yeah, seriously.
Join us.
I will. I want to join Rise Up Paranormal.
He's in the
Absolutely.
I'm all in. I'm going to get
Come
you guys
back,
in.
Let's see if it works out with you guys. Let's see if we can do something next month there. We'll go back because as of this Saturday, we're having our Halloween investigation, and after that, we're done for the year. So
I'm gonna get you guys set up at the Bradley. That's going to happen.
Scott is going to Maine this weekend, but I have nothing this Saturday, so I may. Are you going to be at the Paine house?
To do it, I'm going to grab. There's only going to be a couple of us there. We have a full house, like 8 people. That particular night was crazy. We never have 13, 14 people.
Yeah, that was a big night. That
was weird.
But if you're there this Saturday night, I may stop by because like I said, I'm only a mile down the road. So
yeah, we're there.
Oh, that'd be
and
awesome.
If you guys want to do something with a little bit more intimate, where it's just us, we'll do that next month because all I have to do is tell them we're coming, and it's just fine, do whatever you want to do.
He's hitting me.
Is it possible to let Scott sleep there overnight?
Oh, that'd be awesome.
No.
Ooh,
yes.
Hey, listen, I got to tell you the
Ease
story.
our way into
Sleep in the rocking chair.
A few years back, and we stayed there overnight. Holy
that'd be awesome.
shit.
Let's do that in January.
Okay, I didn't think we got shit last time, and you brought stuff in.
Yeah.
I'm not sleeping there for a whole night yet.
Come on.
Oh my
Gotta do the overnight.
Doors are opening, closing, walls are banging.
That'd be awesome.
So I will have a link to Rise Up Paranormal's website.
Yes.
In the show notes. Ken, anything else we can promote for you?
No, we're good. We have a YouTube channel called Dead Air Full Spectrum if you want to check that out.
Great shows.
Yes.
I've watched a bunch of the shows you guys have had. Corey and Satori. And you've had Tim Weisenberg.
They've had the biggest names in paranormal on there, from Zaffis to Groff to I mean, you've had all of them on there.
Zaffis, he's a good guy, you bastard. Bastards.
I mean,
definitely check that out.
Yep.
Definitely check that out. Ken, we can't thank you enough. I knew this would be a longer than normal episode, but we had so much great stuff to talk about from the investigation.
If you want,
that
I'll
night.
send you these EVP clips. You can put them on your website or something so people can go and listen to them.
That'd be awesome.
They can go through them.
So listen, folks, we cannot thank you enough for tuning into to the whole month of Scottober. But we
Ace's favorite month of the year.
My favorite month of the year. Honestly, I don't even give a shit.
And our third Mike, Tom
and
Stewart.
Third Mike, Tom
Check
Stewart.
out his podcast, My Paranormal Story.
Thank you, please.
Honestly, we can't thank you guys enough for being on because This truly is. Honestly, if I had the time, I would start a second paranormal podcast called
Why do I
Behind
feel
the
we're
Spooky.
transitioning to that anyway?
Behind the Spooky.
Behind the Spooky.
Fuck the comedy.
Not enough of those out
Honestly, the paranormal guests are much more reliable than the fucking comics. So no offense. But
Tune into our new podcast, Scaredy Scott.
yeah, Scaredy Scott or Behind the Spooky.
Behind the Spooky.
No. Thanks so much for being on, Ken. We really appreciate it.
Always an awesome guest, Ken. Thank you.
Good seeing you, Ken.
Always my pleasure.
And I'm gonna let you go because we've been on for almost 2 hours.
Yeah.
And you held down the fort for a good 5 minutes. too.
Yeah. You kept the podcast going.
So
Yeah, I had like a spin-off show that I did.
yeah, exactly.
Guys,
Yeah, right.
The Ken DeCosta
The
show.
Ken DeCosta show. No, thanks so much, Ken. We really appreciate it, man. And we'll talk to you soon.
Again,
See you, Ken.
anytime. Thanks, guys.
All right. And that was Ken DeCosta. I knew this was going to be an awesome episode.
Yeah.
I literally peed myself 3 times because, unlike you, I didn't get up, but I am going to end the show very soon because I'm going to piss my pants again. But no, this was an awesome episode. I knew it was going to be great.
Yeah.
I knew when Tom came in and said, "Listen to this EVP," and I was like,
Goosebumps.
"It's either saying stop or Scott," and I think it's saying Scott.
Hold
But
on.
it was awesome. Yeah, let's play it again.
Doesn't need to happen again. Doesn't.
But it was awesome. And folks, we hope you guys enjoyed Scottober as much as we did, or as much as me and Tom did anyway.
I was going to say,
Yeah.
narrow that
This
down
was
a little.
fantastic. It was so
Already
much
planning
fun.
next year.
Already planning next year. I've already lined up guests for next year. Are you kidding?
Are you shitting me?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But no, this was awesome. So thank you guys so much. As you heard in the beginning of the show, if you enjoy the show, please tell a friend. Give us a 5-star written review. We've got a bunch of 5-star reviews. I noticed there's over 300 5-star reviews, but not written reviews. So please just write a couple of sentences about us, what you like about the show.
Exactly.
Would
Our
be great.
egos could use it.
Absolutely,
Because we have
'cause we're
fragile
very
egos.
fragile. But no, we have to thank Tom, our third chair
Always
co-host
happy.
all
Tom,
week,
Anytime to be
Tom
here.
killed it as usual.
all month.
Killed
Awesome
it as usual.
And other than that, we will talk to you
Next week.